positive, because we know that as human beings, we've got this negativity bias of the brain. Where there's good and where there's bad, we will always focus on the bad, because that is what endangers our survival emotionally, psychologically, sometimes even physically. So the fact that as individuals, as employees, we're more likely to always focus on what's wrong with people, what's wrong with the culture. We need to start to shift our focus to what is right. And what a great way to do this, to hold that space, to actively seek out the positive by allowing other people to share what's working for them, what's good for them. And they do say that the quality and longevity of our relationships will be determined by our ability to do this, to hold this space for other human beings. So I think it's something very much worth thinking about, how you, as an employer can create these conditions whereby people can engage socially, where they're actively encouraged to do that. Yeah.
And it's cutting through that bullshit, isn't it? Because there's like a fakeness to work, isn't there? We have a professional persona. We, aren't there to go to each other's barbecues, and I'm your line manager, and we can, but until there's an authenticity to those relationships, I don't mean that you have to be best pals or that you have to suddenly be in therapy sessions with each other, but you do have to generally give a shit what they're saying, how they're feeling, where they're at, or else you're in the wrong role if you're anything to do with leadership, people management. And so if you can't switch that on where you can be empathetic and understanding and curious, even if you don't like them, curious as to how that's impacting you. Therefore, even if you took it really shallow, if it's affecting you, it's affecting your performance. If it's affecting your performance, it's affecting my ability to manage you, and it's affecting our ability as a team to deliver X, Y, and Z. So even at a cold, harsh commercial level, it is in your interest to have that curiosity around helping and understanding those people around you, doesn't it?
Yeah, it absolutely does. And I think that's a really interesting point, because I've worked in places where I remember going out with the team, and I think I was in a junior management role at the time, and the manager said to me, you can't do that. You can't socialize with the team. It's like, but why? I mean, I'd moved halfway across the country and knew nobody as well. So it didn't really help me feel any better. And that wasn't the kind of leader I wanted to be. I'm happy to go out with the team, but yeah, it's that mentality we've had for so many years, where you've got to separate yourself because you're a manager and you have to control them, and you're the boss, and how the traditional way that we've seen bosses in the past. But it's not the right way to do things. And as a leader, as a manager, it can be incredibly difficult because you're under pressure, you need to deliver. But it's little things like when somebody walks in the morning and you just say, how are you? It's little things like that, when you're grabbing a coffee, just having a small conversation and acknowledging things about their day.
And it's that transactional versus consultative, isn't it? And that's a theme that we see across all sectors at the moment, about transactionals dying. Do you want to buy what I'm flogging? Should we go through the motions in terms of people management? Blah, blah, blah. That transactional versus actually I care. And the results are incredible, aren't they? I mean, Carlos, I know from your perspective, the impact you see on cultures when people are getting this right, and the impact it can have on the human beings and the individuals in those scenarios it's phenomenal for people's well-being, mental health, and performance, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. You call the polarity between transactional and consultative, and I think what sits in the middle is relational skills. I think that the ability to relate to other people, works both ways. Of course, so from a manager's point of view, can the people they're managing relate to their pressures as much as can the manager relate to the constraints of the people that they're managing? So there needs to be, beyond the commercial and operational language that we use within work, there needs to be a cultural language which is around building relationships. And what we're recognizing is that those relational skills, are absent. I mean, it's almost like we've had the industrial revolution, we've had the transport revolution, we've had the technological revolution, and we actually now need a relationship revolution. We actually need to understand the thing that we don't do well, and look at marriages where they're supposed to be the deepest level of relational skills, because it's with people you love and being parents and your children. We're not good at that. So if we're going to deliver 30% improvement in building good relationships, authentic relationships in work, we need to put a focus on that and put a priority on that and be willing to invest time and money in that. And what we're wanting to do here in Mocha is give people access to witnessing us hopefully building relationships with each other live as a group of consultants who care about the human side of enterprise and have suffered through the lack of relational opportunities within work, which has put pressure on us and has forced us out to actually consult outside of those organizations rather than stay within them, because we can't grow as human beings. And that's wrong. That's fundamentally wrong. It's unethical and it's unacceptable in today's world.
I really love the relationship between, whether it's marriage or a relationship of any, you know, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a, you know, a relationship that doesn't have definitions. It's really interesting when the shit hits the fan and the world gets on top of you with bills and the stuff you've got to do and life and kids and pressures. It will make or break those relationships. And in the same way, organizations and business are, you know, the shit's hitting the fan with targets and objectives and sales and penetration and and it will make or break those teams entirely based around their ability to perform under those pressures. And how do you perform under those pressures? Exactly the same way you do with a good relationship, to your point, Carlos, about communication, you know, And what we're saying is a brilliant model for that, to identify and analyze that in organizations or wherever, is PERMA, right?